This is David Savage.
And this is Salome Savage.
And welcome to the new film podcast, Something Old, Something New. The podcast where we choose two films, one old, one new, that have something in common. What that is depends on the film. Today's episode features The Lion King. First released in 1994, classic Walt Disney animated film.
I love that movie so much.
And now we have the newer film, the photorealistic computer animated film. That's a lot of stuff there. Directed by Jon Favreau, who directed Iron Man, but also directed another photorealistic computer animated film, The Jungle Book.
Oh, it's the same director.
It's the same
I didn't
director.
Know that.
Yeah, so I thought that you knew that.
No, I didn't.
Well, now we're actually going to, because what happened is we're comparing and contrasting. In this case, it's easy to compare something old, something new, in the sense that we have the older film, Lion King, released in 1994, and now we have this remake released in 2019. Mm-hmm. We just saw it this past weekend. Actually, the day that we're recording this, yesterday.
Yeah.
And so we have our thoughts are really fresh and new in regards to both films.
I have thoughts. I do have thoughts. Especially, okay, let's start with the animated movie because I grew up with this film, as we all did. I mean,
so did I.
You know, it's I think one of the best Disney movies of all time. Mm-hmm. It is done so well, and I usually don't like animal movies, as you very well know.
Yes.
I'm very particular. But usually I'm more forgiving when it comes to an animated film, like hand-drawn or whatever. But so when I heard they were remaking this movie as a CGI, quote unquote, live action film, quote unquote, I was very hesitant. Very, very hesitant. I hate animals that talk in movies that look realistic.
Yes, there's only one exception.
Babe.
Yep.
I love that movie. It's so cute.
Well, do you think that the other reason, because for Babe, is that it's a combination of not only do they use live animals, but they also use Jim Henson puppets and combined with CGI to obviously make the mouths a little bit better. It's a combination of three different elements there.
Yes, we'll get into that once we start talking about the new Lion King.
Yeah, the photorealistic
CGI.
Yes,
because again, like I said, I have thoughts because it really did change the tone of the essence of the characters just by changing the way they look from cartoon to the most realistic as you can get. It really changes of who Mufasa is, who Simba is, like Nala and blah, blah, blah. So like for me personally, it just changed the whole vibe. But okay, let's start with the first animated film, honey. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, in the film, just watching it, it's the basic plot of both films is that we're in an African kingdom where Mufasa is the king and Simba is heir to the throne. Scar, who is, I think, Mufasa's younger brother, I believe, that he wants to become king, and he ends up hatching a plot where Mufasa is killed and Simba is blamed for the murder, for the death, and that Simba runs away, although I won't believe Simba's dead. Mm-hmm. And that what happens is we go through many different themes in regards to fatherhood, being a son, the idea of being in your father's shadow, becoming more than who you are,
becoming your own.
Yeah,
for the most part, yeah.
And the thing is about it is that, in my opinion, the 1994 original does that a lot better.
Oh God, by a long shot. Well, here's the thing, though. Okay, because I don't really want to crap on the new movie, but
I'm going to crap on
the thing is, it's when it comes to animated, okay, let's start in the very, very beginning, like the first scene. We all know the most iconic,
with the sun rising. Yes,
it's the most iconic, just even in pop culture in general, it's one of the most referenced Disney things ever. Like, we all think it's, but having that said, it's so visually stunning as a cartoon. It's so iconic. It really sets the tone for the movie of how it's going to be. So when you compare it to the movie now, visually, and like we saw it with your sister, so like she said something very interesting that I agreed with, that it looked like a geographical, how do you call it? Well, National Geographic film.
I was thinking like at any second that we would start to hear Sir David Attenborough's narration. They were watching Planet Earth. Like, and over here we have the dung beetle carrying the poop and the fur in the poop.
Boy, don't get
it is the circle of life.
but yeah, so like having that said, if it was visually stunning, even the new movie, but it took away the magic and the color.
Yes.
That was one of the biggest issues. Okay, let's stick to the first scene. The color in the animated film, again, sets up the rest of the film, the tone. So it's like when it wasn't done with this new movie, you're still seeing something visually stunning, but it doesn't feel like The Lion King. You know, what we know in the animated film.
Yeah, because I remember the thing is like what struck me throughout watching the original was just, I mean, it was the colors in particular. Like I'll use the compare and contrast here. The Be Prepared sequence, and that is in the original. I remember those green colors and how nauseating green they were. How establishing how Scar is a bad guy and the hyenas were bad, and what the plan that they're concocting is this awful evil plan. But in the remake, they're going for more realistic in terms of the color of Scar the lion and the rest of the hyenas and where they are. It's dark and shadowy, and it's understandable how it looks.
Right.
It's realistic, but to me, it's visually boring, especially because the other factor is the computer animation that they're going for in the photorealistic in this remake is that you're going for something more technically real, but in the cartoon you're given more. It's more liberating to go and make it more like the idea of the animators of a line.
You
is
can
more
go
interesting.
extra like in an animated film and not have it ruin it. You can't do that with the way they were trying to do this new movie, like the live. I'm just going to call it live animated. Like I don't know what other way to explain it because it's not exactly live. It's technically still animated.
Well,
but
it's described. It's photorealistic computer animation.
Okay, first of all, I already have issues talking, so I'm just gonna call it live animation. Y'all know what I'm talking about, okay? So comparing those two scenes with Be Prepared, that's actually one of the most, if not the most favorite scene of mine in the animated film because I love me some Scar. I love Scar so much. Random side note, I always heard people call Scar sexy. It was weird. But anyways, so...
But it's understandable
yes.
because that's, again, the idea of the animator, how he
had this air about him.
Yeah.
Like, and having that said, in the live version, it was... Here's the thing, though. Okay, if I completely took away the fact that we were watching a remake, if this one was The Lion King never existed and this just came out, I would have been like, this is interesting. I don't hate it. But because we have the animated version from 1994 to compare it to, and it was already so good to begin with, because like going back to the way that it was animated, like even in the very beginning, you can tell the personality of every character. Like just from the very beginning of when we first saw Mufasa on Pride Rock and Zazu was coming into fight in the bow and all that stuff, like the expressions on their face, you can only get away with that in animation. So if you're trying to go in a very realistic approach, it takes away those personality traits that we fell in love with in the animated film. You know?
Ultimately, the characters do suffer, and that is, you know, because the cast, it is well cast, but
very well, yeah.
But I also just think about how in the animated version, just like how I know that the animators would look at the actors as they perform.
Yes.
And they can bring that into it. So, in my opinion, a character like Scar suffers because, I mean, they all suffer because we're looking at animals. Or, you know, it's a big spoiler. I mean, oh, shoot, I already spoiled it in the first. And that is in regards to Mufasa. When Mufasa dies in the original, I get emotionally. I cry. Emotionally. Yeah,
I tear up every time.
It's emotionally moving, but the difference is that, I mean, that's what I'm emotionally moved by, because it's the relationship between the father and the son. The son his father is dead in front of him,
and he felt he caused it, and it was established very well, like throughout the thing. Like it was. Oh, I don't want to say it was well earned, but that moment was well earned when he died. And
in this new version, the 2019 version, I felt sad, but I didn't feel sad because the son lost his father. I felt sad because it's a dead lion. And I'm thinking about endangered lists and the lion died, and I don't want the lion to die.
You're absolutely right. Okay, that makes more sense now. Now I understand why I was feeling that way, because I was kind of angry at myself for not feeling as sad. I'll say this. I actually loved the kid who voiced Simba. And at those moments, like, the voice, I can tell that, like, oh, this kid is acting his butt off, like, voice acting. But unfortunately, because of how it's animated, it's not coming across right.
Well, because they're going for a realistic lion.
Which I get it. And okay, and I was speaking about realism, like the difference between the animated film and this one, it had a lot to do with timing. Because, like, let's stick to one scene. So let's stick to the Mufasa death scene. in the old movie, like I don't want to say it was quick, but it was quick. Like bam, 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 everything's happening, and then he dies. You know, so it's like you're feeling it with him, like with Simba, like oh my god, like whatever, right? And they tried to do that in the new film. However, because they were trying to make it more realistic, they added little extra scenes of let's make it obvious that Simba cannot see, you know, and so have him go this area and like struggling to get up to his father and blah blah blah. Which again, if you're not comparing it to the old film, is cute. I like it. It's sweet. Blah blah blah. I get it. I appreciate the fact that they're adding more scenes to make it more realistic, but it ruins the timing and the feeling that they're trying to get to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, it does. And actually, you touched upon something else, and that is animation is very expensive. And not saying that this new film that it wasn't expensive. Of course it is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. But traditional animation, it's expensive, and it's also a very lengthy process. So the issue is that in the original, the original film is less than 90 minutes long. This new one is around 2 hours. That's like an extra 30 minutes that they're filling in here. And what happened is that in the original is that it's because of the fact that they only have certain amount of time to play around with, things are much faster. They have to be faster. Get that information there. So the wildebeest stampede, for example, in the original, it's fast paced, and the cuts and the movements of the characters and the camera and how they had it drawn and such, that you feel
and the
it.
expression of Simba,
like
being able to like be a little bit more drastic with like the ear drops. You know how like when like a little cub is like you know whatever, they put their ears down like a dog or whatever. So it's like, and they're able to do it a little bit more exaggeratingly, so you can see the fear in Simba's eyes and stuff. But you can't. I mean, you can obviously see fear in like a real animal's like eyes and stuff, but if you're trying to keep up the pace with that, you can't show it in the live action as well as the animated version would. Yeah. But okay, you know, I kind of want to touch upon some stuff. Like, let's kind of break down each character of how different they are. Yeah. Because this is something that really got to me. And again, I will go back to Scar, because Scar is my favorite. Like one of my favorite villains besides Ursula.
Was a bore in this film.
Here's the thing, though. I'm not going to call him a bore. That's Pumbaa.
He's a warthog.
Boo! No, let me keep my jokes. Anyways, I don't even know what a bore is, but
it's still wild
I'm in
pig.
the same family. Okay?
I'm a wild pig.
I was talking about his cousin Pumbaa. But anyways, like, so kind of. One thing I did appreciate about the new film, shut up, I can see your face. One of the things that I can really, I do like that they did in the new film, they gave Nala more to do. They gave her more of a purpose. Yeah. I can see your eyes, I think you might disagree with me, but I actually kind of like that. And they showed the fact that the lionesses are the ones that go out to hunt. The female species in that, you know, the Lion King, like, they have a role. They're not just there to be like, we're here for Mufasa, we're here for our king. Like, no, they have a role. And I actually did like that little woman empowerment moment. Yeah. But it kind of still, the tone of everything just wasn't meshing.
I guess it felt like, I understand that, and the thing is that I would agree with that, but the issue was I kept going back to the original and how the original, there didn't feel like there were any wasted scenes or scenes that dragged on. And the issue with this Lion King version is that there were scenes that dragged on, or you would just go, well, why do they keep going on? Like, the one prime example for me is the introduction of Scar. In the original, you see the little mouse, like, oh, there's a cute little mouse, and then thump, and you see that big lion paw, and then you see the reveal of Scar. That's perfect how you reveal the villain. And this one is you see the adventures of the cute little mouse as he moves around, look at the little mouse, and then you see the slow reveal of Scar going, life isn't fair. I am bored.
Here's the thing, though. Okay, I'm glad because I have this in my notes, that the introduction of Scar, like when it comes to the animated film, it's one of my most favorite introductions for a villain because he was so smooth and smug, and you knew right away what kind of character he was going to be, you know, and like you can tell that his power is his mind and the power to manipulate, you know, and like. That's why I feel sometimes that Scar is underrated. Like he's loved, but he's underrated for the reason why he's a villain. like how smart he is, how he knows how to use people, you know? So it's like, but when they introduced him in this film, they gave him such a different vibe that like, you're not that guy. Like you're still kind of menacing. You're kind of like,
It's a different form of being menacing.
yeah, but you're old, like you're tired. Like, but I get it, but I don't. You know?
I don't buy him as this master manipulator.
Yes. I like, it's the whole woe is me thing. And with the animated film, like, he had a little bit of that, but not really. Like, he was still like, I'm gonna get my stuff. I don't care who the hell I have to screw over. But,
I know what it is. It's that line that he has when he goes when it comes to Bruce strength, when it comes to intelligence and Bruce strength. And the thing is, in the original, it felt like I'm seeing this master manipulator at work. I'm seeing his brain thinking. I feel it. And it also helps because Jeremy Irons' performance is fantastic in the film, and not just Jeremy Irons. I have to give a shout out to the lead, to the supervising animator. His name is Andreas Deha. I hope I pronounced that correctly. The combination of both of them, in my opinion, I'm very open to the idea of nominating voiceover performances for Academy Awards for their performances, and I think a combination of Irons and the supervising animator, Mr. Deha, that they should have both been nominated. Beyond that, you just see it, how he's animated, and just the voice, and how he seduces Simba, how he seduces the hyenas. I buy that. And the thing is, the actor who plays Scar in the 2019 version, his name is Chiwetel Ejiofor, and he's a fantastic actor.
Yeah,
I mean, he was nominated for
good.
12 Years a Slave and Best Actor in a Leading Role. He is a fantastic actor, but in this film, he unfortunately, and this is a problem with many of the actors, I felt, that they sounded bored.
And here's the thing, though. I will agree but disagree at the same time that, like, I will not fault the actors on this one. And I'm not going to fault is the term animators still, if it's this kind of film? Like,
oh, yeah, because they're animators, because they're
animators are fantastic. When you, like, I still suggest people to watch the film, but please forget the 1994 version when watching it. If you can, yeah. Like, it was very hard for me. My husband kept turning to me and he kept seeing my face. Like, I was just like grumpy. But I was still enjoying it in the sense that visually it is so beautiful, so realistic, and so stunning. However, again, it goes back to how things you can get away with in like cartoon animation or hand-drawn animation and this kind of animation, you know, like. So going back to the voice actors, like, I feel like they did a great job and the animators did a great job, but because the type of film it is, it was a disservice to both.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, and it felt like out of place. So when the musical numbers hit, it felt really weird in terms.
Musicals, okay.
It felt very weird in terms of like, you can buy it in traditional animation because it's a cartoon lion. I'm using this as an example. The "Just Can't Wait to Be King" sequence.
Oh my God! Yes.
In the animated version, in the 1994 version,
so
just how colorful it is, and just how the colors would change, and like how vibrant it was, and how quick it was, and that you felt like it was a musical number, and it was funny and entertaining. And I was reminded while watching it of, you know, classic Disney animation. Like, I was thinking of
what made Disney Disney.
Yeah, I was thinking of Three Caballeros, or those short films that would be introduced by Ludwig Drake. I would think of those. I think it was called Make Mine Music or something to that effect. Like those classic animated films where they focused, like you could feel the music, and like you would show it. And you wanted
to be a part of it. I remember as a kid, like I would rewind that part and then like jump on my couch and like run around, or like even when I was in my room and I would have like because I used to have a CD of the Lion King soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
So I would play that song over and over, and I would think of how they animated that film and think that my bedroom came to life like that. Yeah. That's how much the animation was so influential to so many people, and it made you want to be a part of it. Now, talking about this version.
In this version, this is how it's
still cute.
It's staged. In the original one, it's staged more of this fantastical number of Simba and Nala.
A kid's imagination. Yes. It plays well with a kid's imagination.
Thank you. That's very well done. But the new one is more, we're trying to outrun Sazu, and the problem is that how Jon Favreau directs it, there's a lot of long takes and not a lot of cuts.
Yeah.
And what happens is, because of you're not matching the music to how vibrant the song is and how they're performing it, it comes off as boring.
Yeah, again, because I go back to how a child's imagination comes into play in the I can't wait to be king sequence in the animated film. That it was so fun, and like this kid is like, I'm going to be king someday, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to be free, and I get to do what I want. And like you start playing with that, and so like in the animated film, like when you're a kid, you think that everything's just like grander and bigger than it really is, or whatever. So in this film, they stuck to just visually see, like actually, literally, visually seeing what they're doing, like without the crazy stuff. Which again, I will appreciate because it was still beautiful and it was kind of cute to see like the watering hole for what it truly was. But again, it downplays who Simba is.
Yeah,
you know,
it's we already mentioned this before, but I felt it's throughout the film, it felt like I just wanted to watch a Planet Earth documentary. I'd rather watch that instead. Because, like I said, it's stressing the point. The photorealism is so well done, where you just you forget that you are looking at that it was animated, that these aren't real lines. They're not real, warthogs, rhinos, meerkats, and all that. And it's fantastically done. But I kept thinking to myself throughout the film, what is the point of this? The other thing that I was thinking of, like when it came to the actors, when I said that they were bored, I have to focus in on James Earl Jones, and that is, and I know there is a difference.
I love him so much.
It's James Earl Jones is 25 years older than when he recorded it initially, but I remember
you can tell.
Yeah, it's in the, and I just also once again the marriage of voiceover and animation, and that is in the original. I remember how Mufasa was regal.
Is that a challenge? Sorry, I just remember that part.
But then he was also playful, and you can hear it not only in the voice, but you can see in the animation. Of course, you can't do that with a photorealistic lion, because it's like a lion can't do that, unfortunately. And that's where the problem lies in that, where you have to disconnect yourself from that. And it got to the point where I was thinking of this film from my childhood called The Adventures of Milo and Otis, where it's real animals going on adventures, but you feature Dudley Moore doing the voices of Milo and Otis. So like you see in the scene where Otis and the fox is going, "You call that a tail? This is a tail!" And you see the real fox spin his real tail around.
That's cute.
But that is more interesting to me because it's, I guess, the marriage of Dudley Moore's voiceover and the real animals.
So like, I think this movie would have worked more if the voice acting was more animated. So it's like, it becomes a little bit cuter, but in a good way. Because it is true, like, when you're talking about other films that are kind of like, I guess The Jungle Book did this a little bit better, and I still have my issues with The Jungle Book.
And that's the same director, Jon Favreau.
Same director, yeah. I just have an issue with like live action talking films. So like, I try
talking animals, live action talking animals.
So I try to see it from a different perspective and not just from like my pure hatred of those kind of films. But the Jungle Book movie, like, I had my issues with it, but the way like even King Louie, that Christopher Walken voice, the way he animated, I guess because his voice is naturally very like animated and very like it's parodied all the time, it worked really well, you know? So in a movie like this one, where like, let's go back to James Earl Jones, that we can tell he's older, he's like, so it's going to be slower or whatever, but if we miss that it had with the first, the original film, and going back to how it affected their characters. The playfulness, but also, like, it was a very good balance between the playfulness and then, the serious moments. Because one of the biggest scenes in that film for me was that Circle of Life talk, And I remember in the animated version, like, that part really stuck to me when it came to connecting how everything we do will affect something else, right? So it had a huge impact on me, like, growing up. So I was really excited to see that scene in this film. Yeah. I was so excited. And I was so disappointed.
Yeah, because you felt like it goes back to the warmth, and that is you felt the warmth from James Earl Jones' performance, but you also saw it in Mufasa's face. Because that's what I was really focusing on while watching the original again, just how loving Mufasa was as a father. Because, you get this idea of, like, like if you haven't seen it in a while and you just remember how, you've got to be the Lion King, you think of how regal the position is, you think of how important it is. But you forget how playful Mufasa was. And I remember when he says, we are all connected in the circle of life. And just the look on his face when he says it, when he's looking down at Simba, and he has this warm look on his face, and he's being a father. It feels that way.
And also, again, goes to like the voice. I'm probably gonna use the word wrong. Fluctuation.
The fluctuation.
Yeah, because I even wrote this down. Like there was one specific like line where it's like our bodies became the grass, and the antelope eat the grass. But the way he said it in the animated film was like it was very like no 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 no. Like it was very comforting and very like he's very aware that he is talking to a young boy. Yeah. So he has to find a way to tell him in a way that will capture his attention. And in the new film,
it felt more like a narrator.
It felt more like a narrator. Exactly. That's the perfect word. So it was, again, fine. If we were watching Planet Earth, perfectly fine. Yeah. I would love to hear James Earl Jones like narrate a film. But
and over here, the majestic light. They're shacking. They're shacking. They're shacking.
Oh my God, him and Morgan Freeman together just voicing something, I would just die. But
that could have been a Key and Peele skit where Morgan Freeman and James Earl Jones are just going back and forth over
trying to out
this is my job.
I would love to see that. But speaking of Key and Peele, okay, Mr. Key.
They wasted him.
Yeah, but the moments that he was on, I adored him.
Yeah.
And I did really appreciate the direction that they had with the hyenas.
Yeah.
I like the fact that they didn't make them these, poor me things. Like, they had a life of their own, and Scar knew that he needed them. You know? But I still like the way they went in the animated version. Mm-hmm. So I appreciated both versions.
Yeah, that they were sillier in because this is what I liked in the original. Thinking about it, like how they were seen as being they were so dangerous, but still silly and stupid. But then at the end, when that turn occurs, where Scar, being the master manipulator, finally catches and bites him, in the butt. Where at the end, where it's revealed, where they go, what do you think, Ed? And then Ed's like, menacing laugh.
Yes.
That's how you do it, where you build it up, where it's like, at the beginning, Ed is this goofy, laughing hyena who just laughs and laughs, but at the end, when he goes, it's earned.
Yeah, like, at the end of the day, he's a killing machine. Like, he's a deadly animal. Like, so I still liked how they went with So who are the ones that voiced the hyenas this time around? Can you name them?
I forgot the name of the actress who played Shensai, but I know that
I freaking loved her.
But I know that it's Eric Andre was the voice of one of the other lions, one of the other hyenas. I thought that she did a very good job expanding the role as Shensai. Oh, her name is Florence Kazumba.
Okay,
she did a very good job.
She did a really great job. So I loved that addition to the. I was gonna call them clan. That's weird, but like you know what I mean. Like what's the name of
the
group?
Pack of Hyenas?
Pack of Hyenas. Thank you. That's the word. Yeah. So like I really liked it. So I guess it was kind of like a different version of what Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg's character was in the first film. So I liked that little change in direction on that one. But you are right. Eric and Keegan were so well together, and every time they were on the screen, I just laughed.
Yeah,
their interactions were so well. So you are right; they were wasted. They needed to be used more.
It's so funny because we talk about how things are being expanded. There's a sequence. I want to do compare and contrast in regards to the brevity in the first film versus unnecessary sequences in this film, in the 2019 version. In the 1994 original. Simba, looks up at the stars and he collapses, out of frustration. And then you see the dust and the leaves move, and then it cuts to fades into the scene with Rafiki, the tree.
Oh yeah.
And then Rafiki, goes sniffs it, goes, Simba's alive. That whole thing. It's like perfect. It's done within a minute. In this version, what happens is he falls down or collapses, and then the little tuft of fur goes flying. And you follow the adventures of the fur. And this sequence lasts, I believe, at the very least 5 minutes, if not more than that.
It
felt very
I'm gonna laugh.
long.
It was only 30 seconds, but it literally did
wasn't
feel
30
like
seconds.
It literally felt like 5 minutes,
if not longer.
Yeah.
It felt close to 10, to be honest.
You know why I think they did that though? I think they're just trying to show how stunning the Animal Kingdom can be.
That's the problem.
They were being showing.
They were showing off as opposed to serving the story, because it is cool. Because it's like because you follow the path of this. How the little tuft of fur goes with this bird, and then the bird brings it to the nest, and then the other birds like, I don't like it, and they throw it away.
I did giggle at that part though.
And then it lands on a leaf, and then the giraffe eats the leaf, and then the giraffe poops out.
We don't see that part, but insinuated.
Then we see the dung beetle, and the dung beetle's rolling the poop with the fur in it. Then the poop breaks off, and then the fur goes flying. Then an ant grabs the fur, and then it goes to Rafiki. It's cute and clever, but I'm just thinking, you guys are showing off, and you're wasting our time that could have been dedicated to something else, or just not needed at all.
Yeah, like here's the thing though. It's like, I mean, the animators are very talented. I'm like, yeah, damn, show off, like, because you guys are good. Like, I couldn't obviously never do that. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to serving the audience in the film, it was very unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's just, that's why I love the animated version. It was like, bam, bam, thank you, ma'am. Like, we got to the point.
Can I quickly mention, I pointed this out in the theater. I almost came close to saying this aloud, but thankfully I didn't.
Oh,
when they started the sequence, can you feel the love tonight? This is the 2019 version. I'm like, it's not even nighttime. It's not even dusk.
You kind of did say that out loud because I heard you. Like, I remember this, and I was like, "Shut up, David." I'm like, let's watch it. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's just a song. However, let's actually break this down, because you are right. Like, it was distracting that it was during the day, but then it makes sense because there wouldn't be frolicking in the daytime like the lions. Like, I guess they were trying to be realistic in the sense that the lions would have been asleep at nighttime, so the song would have been like, they should have been like, "Can you feel the love today?" They should have just. But okay, now let's talk about the singing, because I love me some Beyonce, and please don't come at me, the Beehive. The thing is, it's like, I love her as Nala. I actually genuinely liked her. Like, I thought I was not gonna like it, and her voice acting wasn't distracting. That's what I was worried about, that her voice acting was gonna be distracting. It wasn't. It was perfect. The singing was, though. And the thing is, like,
that she was dubbed by somebody else initially.
No, your sister did.
Oh, my sister did.
I knew right away that was the queen. Like,
oh yeah,
I know the queen's voice. Like, I love her, but because I know Beyonce just has such an iconic sound and iconic voice, that when she started singing, I instantly was taken out of the film and into a Beyonce concert. Uh-huh. As a lion, as a lioness. So it became very distracting for me. That I was like, I want to hear this song in my car, not watch it while two lions are giving each other like bedroom eyes. Like, I don't want to I don't want to see that. And I'm like, heyo. But I'm like, yes. Lick the pussy.
Lick the pussy.
Sorry, yes. I had to. But like, so but Donald Glover did really good. I loved his singing.
He was fine in it. He was. I mean,
I didn't like him as a voice actor, though. I loved him in the singing. I didn't like him how he portrayed Simba, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, this is the one thing I was thinking of when I watched the original, and in this one, I think it's reinforced too, and that is when Simba is a bit of a boring protagonist. I mean, he is in that. I mean, I also remember a recent set of like I think it was a table Q&A.
Oh yeah, the Hollywood thing.
Yeah, for the Emmy nominations that Billy Porter was featured on, and he remembered thinking about how like the leading roles were always so boring, and that the best roles were the ones of the supporting characters, because they get to do all these wonderful, colorful things, while the protagonist doesn't have to do all that stuff. Yeah. And that the problem is that the protagonist can come off as boring.
Yeah, it's that the supporting actors are the ones that bounce off the leading actor, like his story, to make it come more to they make it come more to life. Yeah, because it's the idea of Simba that's interesting to us. But if you were to ask me who my favorite characters were from The Lion King, I would think, Scar, Timon and Pumbaa, Zazu. I would think of the supporting cast. I mean, and quite frankly, you can also say maybe for Aladdin, that even though I think Aladdin is a better protagonist than Simba is, but I think of the genie. I think of Jafar, Abu, even Iago, the carpet. I mean, that's like, I guess not so much an issue of the Lion King, but just so much when it comes to protagonists. That sometimes it's very hard to write a leading protagonist. Here's the thing, though. I agree to a certain point, because in the animated version, Matthew Broderick did an amazing job with Simba in the sense that he showed that he was a man-child until he needed
The
to become a
insecurity.
man, you know?
Yeah.
But, and once he became a man, it was earned. It was so earned.
Yeah.
But in this one, it was just man-child to king, but it wasn't earned.
Yeah.
And I had a really big issue with that.
Maybe
because
instead of focusing on the dung beetle stuff, they could have focused on
more
that.
character development, yeah. So it's like, I mean, at the end, the end result was fine. Like I was like, whatever, but it made me really miss the animated film.
Yeah, it did. And I mean, the other thing that I was thinking of, what I also missed in terms of the animation was I was remembering all of the visual foreshadowing in the original. Like, for example, when Mufasa's dead, he's underneath the tree, and I believe it might be the very same tree that Simba was on when he rescued from. But you see the tree is the branch is broken, and you see Mufasa's death, and it's like it's representing to us. It's telling us for the audience that something is wrong here.
Yeah.
That something is broken. That Mufasa's dead. Or another example is in the Hakuna Matata sequence in the original, where they're at the end of the song where they're jumping off of the tree limb. You know, it looks like a diving board into the water.
Oh yeah.
But I looked at it like it visually to me it looked like Pride Rock. That Simba is jumping off of Pride Rock and leaving that in the past. Like, I'm no longer that Simba. I am Hakuna Matata Simba.
Yeah.
And I miss that because they don't do that in it. And it's like,
Well, no, I mean, what real lion's gonna grab a vine and throw himself into the water? Like,
yeah, or jump off, that sort of thing. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I just think of that, and it's like once again I miss that.
So did I. I missed the playfulness that Simba had, and as an adult, I should say. So it's like, so kind of like introducing that character. I will say this though, that like that scene. It was one of my like. God, I think just the whole movie in general was my favorite, the animated film. But like the scene that I always remembered, it was like when Timon and Pumbaa, like in the jungle, and then Pumbaa just kind of goes away and it's like following this like beetle or whatever.
Yes.
I will say that I really liked what they did to this movie.
That's actually a very good compare and contrast in terms of, in my opinion, both films get that sequence right, because in the first film, it's more about the difference between suspense and surprise. Because in the original, the suspense is Pumbaa goes off and he wants to eat this beetle. I think it might be a rhino beetle, if memory serves.
I think it was, yeah.
And then you see like something is happening, and you see a line off in the background, and the suspense is
you can see her like shoulder blades kind of getting ready to pounce.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so terrifying to me as a kid.
The suspense is, oh my gosh, Pumbaa, get out of there.
Yeah.
But in this version, what happens is, and it's really cute because
I love it so much.
They're singing The Lion Sleeps Tonight.
Yeah.
And then the other little animals
they
join in, and it becomes this little musical number, and they're all happy, da 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 da, bah, and then Nala attacks
out of nowhere.
Surprise.
Yeah, and so like I'm not gonna like I didn't fully jump, but I kind of like felt my heart go, oop, like, oh my god, okay, and I was like, no, Pumbaa, no. Yeah. I was like, are they actually gonna kill off Pumbaa in this one?
Yeah, and that's why I liked what Jon Favreau when he takes a different approach in terms of how different the film goes, and that scene in particular, that's what I wanted more of in terms of, I get the fact that we're going to be following the same, storyline beats and character motivations and such, but give me something more different to give me a reason why this film was made. That in particular is a reason why.
And I will tell you this though, like I remember, like what your sister said, that she still preferred the animated version, but I won't disagree or agree because I liked both equally. But another thing that they did different, and I was dreading, I was like, oh, I hope they find a good way to do it, was that luau part. Like, how are we going to get live bait? They're like, they turn, and like, what I did kind of find, well, I didn't like the part where they're like, Pum was like, okay, so what do we do? Or whatever, and he's like, why are you looking at me? But I was like, okay, so they're going to ruin it. But then the next scene, when they parodied Be Our Guest, I burst out laughing because it was something so unexpected, but hilarious. And I was like, thank God they didn't randomly put him in a little like luau like skirt.
Oh, thank goodness.
And they didn't do luau, like what Nathan Lane did brilliantly in the first film. So it's like, I really genuinely appreciated the difference
Yes.
on this one.
I would say of the voice cast, Billy Eichner is the MVP of this new version. And also to be fair, I think Nathan Lane was the MVP of the voice actors. Well, and actually it would be between him. I think I'd still give the edge to Jeremy Irons as being the MVP of the voice cast in the original. But if you watch the original, Nathan Lane, I believe, sings the majority of the songs. He has Hakuna Matata, he has his little bit for Line Sleeps Tonight, and he has the opening to Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
Mm-hmm.
And of course the ending. That he is the MVP in terms of the songs. But Billy Eichner, how he's able to do it, is able to approach Timon in his own unique way, but still giving tribute to Nathan Lane.
Exactly.
America's
America's sweetheart.
America's sweetheart, Nathan Lane.
Our American patriot, Nathan Lane.
Hello, America.
So it's like, I freaking love him. Sorry, that's a How I Met Your Mother reference.
And
but
Seth
anyways,
Rogen was fine.
I love Seth Rogen.
I kept missing Ernie Sabella's performance. I missed,
it was, again, more animated, but if we had to go down the realistic route, I really loved what Seth Rogen did, because he stayed true to being Seth Rogen, honestly. And the compare and contrast of Timon and Pumbaa for this film, I felt balanced out very well. And I did there were certain misses, but I generally love the fact that they were very aware that they were Timon and Pumbaa. Yeah. Like when he said Hakuna Matata, he's like, oh, we should get more claps on that. People usually cheer and stuff. But I kind of did like that.
And thinking of that, I think that goes into why the Lion King, the 2019 version, but ultimately why it doesn't work, and why the Jungle Book works, Jon Favreau's one, is that in Jon Favreau's Jungle Book, because the thing is, Jon Favreau, he comes from like Swingers and Maid and the aforementioned Iron Man. He's known for being more comedic in his sensibilities. He's known for improvisations from the actors. That's his directorial style, more comedic. And in the Jungle Book, it definitely works because they're basing it off of the late 60s, the 67, 66 version with, of all these wonderful, the tone of it, Louis Prima as King Louis and such. And it works in his version because the comedic sensibilities shine. Mm-hmm. And in The Lion King, the stuff that works in his version is when it's comedic, when you feel that Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen are improvising with each other, that it comes alive when those two are going back and forth.
Or with Key and Eric?
Yeah, when it comes to Keegan Michael Key and Eric Andre.
Yeah, like them two, again, the comedic pairings are very well cast.
Yeah.
Extremely well cast, I think, because they are... Even though maybe one might outshine the other, but the balance is beautiful, I think. And just kind of like how it did in the animated film. So it's like, I like that. But end result, though, like when it comes to this, I feel that everything in the animated film was earned. Every scene, every step, every progression was earned. In this one, the 2019 version, it wasn't, because like I'm looking back at my notes right here, like in the very thing, like I put like beginning of the song, like that part. I'm like, it's visually stunning, but the Scar intro, I put horrible timing. like the thing is, it's like every single thing, because we were so spoiled with the old version, the something old version, that when we saw this version, the timing was so off that once you get the big reveal, it was like, oh, it was underwhelming. It was not earned. It was just like, I don't know, because like I had that like with Simba, like when Mufasa was showing him the kingdom, and it's like, all of this will be yours. I didn't feel like it was earned. I didn't feel like with I did like Simba's curiosity though. Like I liked how they put that very early on when he was chasing the beetle in the beginning, like to show that he is a kid. He is very curious. However, then they set him up like in the wrong way, in my opinion, when the part in the animated film when he goes to Nala and then he's like, we're going to go to the watering hole. And then Nala's like, the watering hole? What's in the watering hole? Yeah. He's like, I'll tell you when you get there. Like, and it gives them that, that like that mischievous, what they are. And in this film, it didn't. It was just like the watering hole. Oh, okay, I'll go to the watering hole and blah, blah, blah. So where are we really going? But it's, again, that whole part of showing like, oh, Nala knows that he was lying, but it still wasn't earned. It was still like,
or another visual thing I was thinking of is the lead up to Just Can't Wait to Be King, where
timing was off. That's what I put that right there too.
and when they're walking towards the waterhole, I remember that in the animated version, in the 1994 version, where you cut from below where it's Simba and Nala, but you can see Sazu up there, and it's like it's giving that idea of they got to ditch Sazu. But in this version, the 2019 version, it's shot more like a Planet Earth documentary.
It was more literal.
Yeah.
Like it took the imagination away.
Yeah.
It just wanted to show us how beautiful nature can be, which
Yeah.
I appreciate. If it was a Planet Earth documentary, documentary.
Yeah. In this case, the photorealism, that focusing so much on it took away from the
It
charm
does a disservice
of that original.
I did want to mention. Where's my note? I will say there's this one part in the movie that I loved so much between Simba and Scar, where like Simba was like looking out into the field, and then he's like, when I'm king, I get to tell you orders. How weird is that? And then Scar is behind him, and then he's like just looking at him, and I can't remember what he said. He's like, "Yeah, imagine that," or something like that. I got chills in that part, honestly.
I got just I honestly thought like I'm bored.
No, the only reason I did that is because it got to the point where I had to separate scene by scene and just admire its beauty and timing from scene to scene, not as a whole, because as a whole it didn't work for me, because again, as we keep going back to, the timing was off and it kept doing a disservice to the film. But just analyzing that one scene alone, that is one of the only times I saw Scar be menacing and see that he does have this ultimate plan of becoming king. That's the only part I saw.
Yeah.
But the rest was like what the introduction to the hyenas, which I kind of did like that they did do that they showed that he never had a master plan with the hyenas in the beginning until afterwards. I appreciated that, and that was cute. But then the whole be prepared scene, as we talked about earlier, then we're like, oh, he's gonna start being prepared. Ooh, let's wait for it. Oh, it ended. Wait. He didn't do the song. Wait. What? What's happening? No! I was so mad. I was so mad. I was genuinely so mad.
And also, just let everyone know, there's no Nazi imagery in this in the 2019 version.
Is it weird? I get why they didn't do it, but is it weird that I kind of miss the political imagery in this film?
No, it isn't weird
because,
at all.
Like, we're such in this time in a country. We're not going to get into politics that much for this film anyway. But like in the first film, like, and I wrote my notes down. There was a lot of political undertones, I put especially with Scar, the whole empty promises type of thing.
Yeah.
Hello, do we know what we're talking about? Okay, when it comes to the politics, but he was a man of empty promises and telling you, I will get you this if you do this for me first. And that was very menacing. That was so scary because it felt real because we live in a society like that.
Yeah.
So it's like
it felt like once again a master manipulator, and in this case, I mean, this version didn't feel that way. I mean, the other thing I definitely want to point out as we're wrapping it up, that I was thinking when it came to the original that I mentioned that it felt like a tribute through the various decades of Disney animation that I mentioned. It's the aforementioned, Three Caballeros, the Ludwig Drake anime, but also like the greens, for example, in the Be Prepared sequence. I was reminded of Maleficent in Sleeping Beauty. I just remember that nauseating green. Some of the comedic stuff with Sazu and Just Can't Wait to Be King or him in the Birdie Boiler reminded me a lot of the 60s Disney films, which were a lot more comedic, Sword in the Stone and The Jungle Book.
Good. It's very nostalgic. Yeah, that's what it is, and it made me miss. Because here's the thing: you have obviously a wider knowledge of films than I do. I just watched whatever I was able to watch, but it made me want to just turn to you and be like, hey, can we start watching those other older cartoons that I wasn't aware of? I'm aware but not aware of. It really made you just want to appreciate what animation used to be.
So then you'll figure out where did Mr. Toad's Wild Ride? What were where you can go to hell?
Yes.
Figure out where they come from, which is so funny because the
Hashtag life.
In that film, you don't go to hell.
Or do we?
I don't remember that in that movie.
But no, at the end of the day, this film made me miss what animation was. Because and again, not shitting on the animators now, because what they're doing now, and the technology and the development, is so stunning and so surreal to me that we're getting to that point where we can literally just create our own live world. But I do miss that animation, the animation from back in the day.
Let me ask you this, and that was because I was thinking about this as a good question to conclude on. Do you think that the focus on perfection in terms of animation, in terms of filmmaking, is negatively affecting movies today? that things have become so focused on. We got to make it look 100%
We want to
perfect.
be more realistic. Yeah.
And it looks maybe too clean.
I will agree. Yes, because I've noticed that that's always been a problem with any film that I've seen that tries to be as realistic as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the whole point of film can be whether to educate or to transport us to a different world.
Mm-hmm.
And when you try to combine the both, it can be a dangerous slippery slope. And on this one, it wasn't executed correctly, in my opinion.
Yeah. I remember one of my favorite things, and to use as an example, and this actually could be another future topic for something old, something new, King Kong, the 1933 classic.
Which I have not seen yet.
Oh, and that's...
I'm excited to see.
There we go. There's something old, something new. We're going to probably maybe we'll do a King Kong fest. Who knows? But in the... Oh, yeah, because of the different King Kongs. Because in the 33 version, the King Kong was stop motion. Mm-hmm. The 70s version was a man in a suit, a.k.a. Godzilla. And the 2005 version, Peter Jackson version...
Which I saw, yeah.
...is CGI. It's visual effects.
I think it's beautifully stunning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, in the 33 version, it's stop motion. And if you notice throughout the film, King Kong's fur, it has these weird little movements. It just moves like that, and people wonder, well, how is that possible? It's because they used rabbit fur for the King Kong model.
Really?
Yep. And what happened was every time they would move the King Kong model, you would see the ripple effects of the fingers and the thumbs and such. So that's why it makes those weird little movements.
That's actually kind of cool. I can't wait to see it.
But what happens is it gives that very unique look to Kong. It makes him more real.
Mm-hmm.
It looks absolutely brilliant. So essentially getting it is that some of the technical imperfections of the old visual effects or what have you, there's that charm to it. Like when you're going to see it. And in terms of traditional animation, once again, the idea of, in my opinion, the idea of a lion is more interesting than seeing this photorealistic lion.
Like, if I want to see a lion, I'll go on a safari. Mm-hmm. But I want to...
I'll go to the Animal Kingdom.
Right?
Disney.
Where will we go to next? I'm going to Disney World. I wish. But no, but the thing is, when it comes to animation, that the reason why we want to watch it is this whole nostalgic thing. It brings us back to our childhood of when our imagination ran wild, and that's what this movie made me miss. And so, having that said, I will tell people, go watch the movie. Go ahead. At your own risk. No, I'm kidding. But, go watch it, but make sure to try to disassociate it. I said that word wrong, but you know what I'm trying to say.
If you can.
From the animated version. Because it's a good film, but I do prefer the animated version.
And for me, I'll say that, honestly, watch the 1994 version. It's a classic. And I would say watch Planet Earth instead. Watch a nature documentary about Africa, about lions and hippos and hyenas and meerkats and warthogs, all those wonderful critters.
Right.
I honestly think that would be a better use of your time. But if you are remotely curious to compare something old to something new, check it out. But ultimately, I can't recommend the new version of it. I definitely can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Having that said, I guess that is the end of our podcast. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Like I said, there's something old and something new. This is Salome.
And this is David. And we want to say we love you.
And we love you.
Oh, but actually, what we'll do is we'll tell you what our next episode is going to be about.
No! Okay. What is
in this case, because we're going with something old, something new, that we're going to be focusing on Quentin Tarantino, because Mr. Tarantino has a new film coming out called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And what we're going to do is compare that something new to something old. We're going to Tarantino's first film, or the film he wants you to think is his first film, because we can't watch that other one which he's really embarrassed by. We're going to 1992 and watching Reservoir Dogs and see how Tarantino has evolved as a filmmaker.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see this, because I haven't seen both films. One hasn't come out yet, and the other one I haven't seen. So guys, if you guys can, go check it out. Go watch the old film, go watch the new film with us, and come back and watch or listen to our next episode and see what your thoughts are. And
please follow us on Instagram. Something old, something new.
Yes, it is actually, because you can search something old, something new. However, the actual name is SOSN Podcast.
That's right.
So definitely go check us out. And if you have any recommendations, please let us know of any old movies that you want us to compare to new, or all that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely give us a follow. So, once again, this is David Savage.
And this is Salome Savage.
And we're both signing off for something old, something new.